President Gelle pays tribute to the late Abdurrahman Ali Hersi, the President of the Republic. His Excellency Ismail Omar Gelle has paid tribute to the memory of the late Abdurrahman Ali Hersi, one of the leading figures of the cultural and artistic landscape of our country, who passed away on Sunday. The late Abdurrahman Ali Hersi, a talented artist, contributed greatly to the influence of Djiboutian music and culture. The head of state said he was held in high esteem for the overwhelming sympathy and his unparalleled generosity. He said his greatness of spirit was commensurate with his ethics, which prevented him from cultivating relationship for personal gain. He continued, as for the genius that inhabited him, it was undoubtedly at the origin of the permanent modesty that characterized him. He observed that may God Almighty welcome him into his eternal paradise. The head of state implored, expressing his sad condolences to the family, relatives, and friends of the deceased, and to all Djiboutian artists. The late Abdurrahman Ali Hersi, a well-known artist in Djibouti belonging to the famous Djiboutian cultural troupe Kaan Ma'an. He leaves behind him a large family with several children. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. After a few weeks of the death of the writer Dr. Muhammad Dahir Afrah, the tribute to this man of the letters is multiplying. One of the main proud figures of the Somalian cultural landscape, Muhammad Dahir Afrah, passed away on the 9th October in London, England. A day of official tribute dedicated to the memory of the late Muhammad Dahir Afrah was held today at the People's Palace, organized by the Somali-speaking PIN in close collaboration with the Minister of Youth and Cultures. This day of recollection and tribute saw the participation of the Minister of Youth, Dr. Hibo Mumin Azowe, and several emblematic figures of the cultural landscape of our country and the regions, including Hashi Abdi Orah, Dean of the Somali PEN, Mahmoud Dirir, Aisha Muhammad Roble, the elders, intellectuals, and important political, cultural, and literary personalities also took part in this day. A documentary on the writer's careers was also screened on this occasion. Born in 1952, the famous writer Dr. Muhammad Dahir Afrah wrote many books, including Manafai. The late Dr. Muhammad Dahir Afrah was most recently the head of the Somali Regional Language Academy in Mogadishu. He had previously served as a president of the Somali PEN associations dedicated to the promotion of the Somali languages and cultures. The Minister of Youth and Culture paid tribute to the memory of the late Muhammad Dahir Afrah, a famous Somali writer who died on 9 October in London, Great Britain. The President of the Republic described the late writers as one of the leading figures of the Somali cultural landscape for more than 5 decades. The late Muhammad Dahir Afrah was a writer, a committed intellectual, and unrivaled promoters of the Somali languages. He willingly played all the roles that promote intellectual creativity in this part of the world. Wrote President Gelle, his death marks the end of the highly valuable and multifaceted contribution to the peoples of the region. He noted, recalling his unwavering commitment to working for brotherhood and complementarity and peaceful coexistence. The deceased leaves behind him a large family. The personalities who had been close to the writers were able to testify to the efforts made by the writer, especially the promotions of Somali literature and the protections of the mother tongue. Muhammad Dahir Afrah, former ministers and ambassadors to Ethiopia, paid tribute to the memory of the writers, underlining his efforts to promote the languages. After the fall of the central government, the mother tongue had faced persistent difficulties, the noted Muhammad Dahir, Mahmoud Durir, and according to him, Dr. Muhammad Dahir Afrah played an invaluable role in the preservation and the promotion of cultural, especially the mother tongue. Dr. Abdurrahman Yassin, advisor to the president of Somali PEN, thanked the Minister of Youth and Culture for its support in the organizations of this day and recollections for the late Muhammad Daher Afrah, an emblematic figures of the cultural landscape and Muhammad of the region. Dr. testifies to the wisdom and unquestionable perseverance of the authors, his vision for cultural promotions. The Minister of Youth and Culture, Dr. Hibu Mumin Al-Sowe, in her speech paid tribute to the memory of the deceased who leaves a void to the entire cultural community. She also paid tribute to the role of the President for his unfailing support for the enhancement, preservation, and promotion of cultural arts. The Minister of Youth and Culture expressed her regret after his passing that she qualified highly symbolic and valuable persons for the entire population of the region, noted the Minister. In his tribute, the head of state described him as a man of leather, versed in the rudiment of the Somali languages. Listen to the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh.
We knew each other ages ago, from the time he came from Aden, Yemen, until his death. Since then, this friendly bond has endured, and each time we have always accompanied him in all these great projects that he was planning to materialize, whether it is his work on the historiography of the Somali and Arabic language at the cinematic level and their cultural reapproachment. I believe that this book is available. In Somalia, he has done a lot of work, especially as a playwright, with regard to his play Man of Fire, which was a resounding success. Afterward, he went to the United Kingdom, where he obtained his doctorate, and he has made a long journey for the promotion and the radiation of the Somali language, this vehicular instrument for the people of this horn of Africa. He was an outstanding writer, a committed intellectual, an unparalleled promoter of the Somali language, and it would be very difficult to fill this void. It is our responsibility to continue his work humbly, well and conscientiously. It is our responsibility not to overshadow and forget his cultural and intellectual contribution in his work. In recent years and before his death, we had the ambition to set up the ways and means of how to converse the Somali language for posterity, a center for the Somali language and its scholars as part of the celebration of 40 years of the Somali language. We started from the principle that if the Somali language belonged to several communities of the region, it was obvious that the language should have a center with three main missions, that of gathering, preserving, and disseminating on a large scale. There was a will of the different regional actors to support us in this sense. The deceased had this file in hand, and the Somali capital, Mogadishu, was destined as the place of condemnation. These construction works require a commitment of all and adequate funding. Let's remember that we have already made the gestures. He had, with the late Afrah, regular monitoring on the progress of these major sites. The late Afrah was the founding father of the Somali PEN, followed by the Afar PEN. He was a member of the governmental commission in charge of writing and modernizing the constitution to bring it up to date. He gave his all, sacrificing his whole life for the beautification and promotion of the Somali language. His output is a fine example. His highly valuable and multifaceted contribution to the benefit of the people of the region will never be forgotten.
Prime Minister Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed visited this afternoon a photo exhibition organized by the International Migration Organization. This photo mainly retraces the route of migrants from countries that emigrate to the Gulf countries to Yemen via the coastal town of Obok. Obok is the crossing point for all migrants who cross Djibouti territories via roads in the arid heat. Some photos also show the waiting of the migrants before the boat to Yemen. The distresses and difficulties encountered by these migrants are palpable in this photo, which are set in the town of Obok. In addition to the Prime Minister, the Interior Minister Said Nuh Hassan, the Trade Minister Mohammed Warsama participate in the photo exhibitions at the villa near to the Aulad File. The officials were welcomed by the International Organization for Migration representative Stephanie Devio and EOM officials, the ambassador of Great Britain, Japan, and European Union, as well as the prefect of Obok, Abdul Malik Mohammed Benoita, the bilateral directors, Mr. Gele Idrissa, and in an interview, the representative of the International Organization for Migration, Stephanie Devio, thanked all the visitors and expressed her satisfaction, expectations after the organization of the photo exhibitions on the migrants who cross the border by hundreds of thousands every year. For his part, the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed expressed his feeling when he saw the distress on the faces of the migrants whose point embarkation is in the shore of Obok. Refugees are outside their countries of origin due to the fear of persecution, conflicts, violence, and other circumstances that have seriously disturbed public orders and therefore requires international protections. The International Convention relating to the status of refugee, but also regional instrument of United States studies provide definitions of the refugee. This is no legally recognized definitions of the term migrants. However, according to the United Nations, the term refers to any person who has resided in a foreign countries for more than 1 year, irrespective of the causes, voluntary or involuntary of the movement, and irrespective of the means, regular and irregular, used to migrants. However, it is common to include certain categories of short-term migrants, such as seasonal agricultural workers who move it at the planting and harvest time. Obok is the crossing point for all migrants who cross Djibouti territory via roads in the arid heat. Some photos also show the waitings of the migrants before the boat of Yemen, the distress and difficulties encountered by these migrants. As part of the activity to celebrate the International Day of Child, the Ministry of Women and Family, in collaboration with UNFD and with the Ministry of Labor in charge of social reforms and protection, organized a workshop on the state of the child in our country on Sunday, 21 November, at the headquarters of the National Union of Djiboutian Women. In addition to the Minister of Women and Family, Mona Osman Aden, the Minister of Labor in charge of social reforms and protection, Isman Ibrahim Roble, the Secretary General of the UNFD, Hasna Ahmed, participate in this event. During the workshop, a clip and 2 presentations were made about the work done by the social services, the Minister of Women and Family on the one hand, and on child victims of violence on the other hand, on child laborers in Djibouti, respectively, by the Director of the Family of the Minister of Women and Family and the Director of Labor to the Minister of Labor. The ceremony, which was held under the patronage of the Minister of Women and Family, Madam Mona Osman Aden, and her colleagues with the Minister of Labor, Isman Ibrahim Roble, as well as the representative of UNICEF, Melva Johnson, who was attended by the no favors than 200 people from ministerial institutions, representatives of the United Nations systems, and civil society. For his part, the Minister of Labor in charge of social reforms and protection, Isman Ibrahim Roble, said that Universal Children's Day also marks the anniversary of the adoption of the declarations and conventions of the right of the child, mother and father, teachers, nurses and doctors, civil society leaders and activists, religious and community leaders, business leaders and media professionals, as well as young people or children themselves can play an important role in making Universal Children's Day a special event for their society, community, country. Universal Children's Day offers each of us a unique opportunity to raise awareness of children's right, to promote and highlight them, to turn this date into the concrete actions for children everywhere. The Minister of Women and Family, Mona Osman Aden, said that the COVID-19 pandemic has shown how inequalities affects the rights of every child, from climate change to education, to mental health, to fighting racism and discrimination. Children and young people are speaking out on issues important to their generations and calling on others to build a better future. This year, Universal Children's Day, it is more important than ever that the world listen to their ideas and demands. Each International Day is an opportunity to inform the public on themes related to major issues such as human rights, sustainable development, or health. These days are also an opportunity for the United Nations system, public authorities, and civil society to organize awareness-raising activity and mobilize resources. The Commission for Social Development and Environmental Protection is met on Sunday, 21 November, to examine the draft law number 137 AN 21 8 L relating to the modalities of the management of the health crisis linked to the COVID-19, chaired by the Member of Parliament Hassan Aden Geddi. The committee was attended by almost all its members as well as parliamentarians who were not members. The government was represented by the Minister of Health, Dr. Ahmed Robla Abdillah, accompanied by his close collaborators during a wide-ranging debate during which the members of Parliament intervened with their guesses on issues relating to the evolutions of public health policies and national contingency strategy and the fight against the health crisis. The Minister of Health, stressing the importance of this project, drew up a complete inventory of resources, national needs, and measures to be consolidated in order to overcome, at least limit the spread of this global pandemic and its harmful effects on the national territory. The BCIMR Bank, in close collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the participation of the Ministry of Labor, organized an open day yesterday in the framework of the International Week of Children's Rights. Indeed, a sunny day rich in information took place in the enclosures of the big and oldest bank of the Republic. They launched with the general managers of the bank and well received by our young generation's fuel of ambition. The bank with innovations took place in the enclosures of the big and oldest bank of the Republic. The bank with innovations took place, the enclosures, the bank has informed me that a new numbering of your account is available. This numbering corresponds to the new standards of the central bank on the banking coordinate set up within the framework of the national systems of payment. And to know your new bank identity statement, where we invite you to consult it via your applications, connect, and to approach your customer's advisor. The general managers of the BCIMR Regis Beriak did not fail to motivate and take the commitment at the end of these courses of recruitment will take place. Among the missions on the CNDH provided by the law 59E and 147L on 20 July 2014 are the notified visit of the penitentiaries and places of preventive detention in the country. It is for this reason that a strong delegation of the National Commissioners on Human Rights, led by its President Saliban Omar Udin, went successively this Sunday, November 21, 2021, in the town of Balbala, the brigade of Pika 12 North, and the police stations of Hodan. This regular visit to places of detention in accordance with the provision of Article 11 of Law 59E and 147LM to learn about the conditions of the detention, to assess the level of respect for human rights, and to appreciate the means implemented. Fruitful exchanges took place between the delegation and the commanders of the PK 12 North Brigade, Sergeant Ahmed Abdul Qadir Mohammed on the one hand, and between the delegations and the Lieutenant Colonel Saeed Absiye of the Hodan police station is on the other, particularly with regard to conditions of detention, the length of police custodies, and respect for human dignity. The president of the CNDH and his delegation consulted the registers of minutes on those of the custodies of adults, men and women, and minors. Finally, the delegation visited the detention cells, which were properly ventilated and maintained. The Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, Muhammad Abdallah Mahyoub, sponsored the closing ceremony of the training of the trainers workshop on transformational pedagogy for peace buildings in Djibouti today in the late morning. The ceremony took place at the CFF Omar Gele Ahmed in the presence of the UNESCO ICBA Senior Program Coordinator Mr. Saliu Sal, the project coordinators and culture of the Peace Focal Point, Ms. Room Saeed, the Director General of the CFF, Aisha Farah Iltire, the Inspector General of the General Education, Ms. Muna Ismail Abdu. This training workshop for trainers took place from 14 to 18 November and benefited some 45 middle and secondary school teachers, CFF trainers, and teachers from Djibouti University. This workshop, organized in close collaboration with the MENFOP and UNESCO ICBA, aimed to work on the consolidation of peace, resilience, on the prevention of extremism and violence through the file of education in Africa, according to the Agenda 2063, CSAT 2016 to 2025, as well as the Education 2013 Agenda and framework for actions more generally. The main objectives of the project is peace building, resilience buildings, and prevention of the violent extremism through education for young people, through teacher development in order to create an opportunity for young people to embrace the values of peace while preventing violent extremism through education capacity buildings of teachers. For his part, the Secretary General of the MENFOP, Mohammed Abdallah Mahyoub, took the opportunities to express his satisfactions and thank for the confidence in living together, but also in development and prosperity. He wished to put in place a program in all the media, whether it is the training curriculum or the school textbooks. Mohammed Abdallah Mahyoub expressed his warm thanks on behalf of the minister to the participant and the UNESCO experts. A training workshop for 15 health workers in Artas region by the IGAD COVID-19 project funded by the African Development Bank within the framework of the activities to fight against COVID-19 financed by IGAD through a fund of the African Development Bank at the level of the cross-border points of the region itself, our country. A training workshop for 15 medical officials on health workers opened today on November 20 at Sunny Hill Hotel Complex in Arta for a duration of 3 days. The workshop was opened in the presence of officials from the Artas region, including the president of the region, Ilmi Bouh, the deputy prefect, as well as the director of health of social affairs of IGAD, Ms. Fadhia Abu Bakr Alwan, for the benefit of the health workers from the Artas region, where an important cross-border entry point is located at Luada from the passage of peoples and goods. This initial training on health of health sector manager, health workers, and laboratory technicians from the Artas region is carried out by 4 experts from the Ministry of Health for the different topics covered under the aegis of the National Coordination of COVID-19 Project in close coordination with experts from IGAD Health and Social Affairs Division. For her part, the Director of Health and Social Affairs of IGAD, Ms. Fathia Abu Bakr Alwan, said for her part that the IGAD countries need to work together to do much for the community. Our President's recommendation was to hold the Ministry of Health and Finance to work closely on COVID-19. We have recognized 21 places all over the region, especially Djibouti. We have received Galafi, Galile, Danwale, and North Balho. In our discussion as part of the conference, there was support from the African Bank, and we are able to include the Artas regions and Loy at that district have $10 million to be worked in cooperation with the World Health Organization. On Wednesday, 17 November 2021, the General Directorate of the Djiboutian Coast Guard hosted a signing ceremony between the Djiboutian Coast Guard and the Japan Marine Safety Agency, followed by the closing ceremony of the training provided by JAMS instructors from which benefited the staffs of the instruction assigned to the patrol vessels of the Djiboutian Coast Guard. The collaboration between the Djibouti Coast Guard and the Japan Maritime Safety Agency is part of the activity of the Djibouti Coast Guard operational capacity building project, which is entering its phase and is scheduled to last until 2025. The main focus of the training was on firefighting at sea and a rapid response to distress situations at sea. In a short speech delivered on this occasion, the JICA representative underlined the importance of this training in strengthening the operational capabilities of Djibouti Coast Guard. Colonel Wais Omar Bogore, commander of the Djibouti Coast Guard, took the opportunity to salute the constant commitment of Japan to the Djibouti Coast Guard through the operational capacity building project, which is entering its third phase. The Djibouti Coast Guard has been permanently supported with materials and equipment of training, which have had a significant impact on the development of the institution. The State Secretariat in charge of sports and the Djibouti Tennis Federation is in collaboration with Qatar Charity celebrate the World Children's Day on Friday 19 November with the orphan children sponsored by Qatar Charity. The event was attended by the business manager of the Embassy of Qatar and Kuwait in Djibouti, the director of the organization of Qatar Charity, and all the officials of the Djiboutian Tennis Federation, as well as 200 children and 200 parents at the open day of the tennis centers of Kabod. The Djibouti Tennis Federation is thanked the State Secretariat for in charges of sports for providing us with all the technical and financial means to realize this Children's Day, and also thanked Qatar Charity for the joint organization of this event. For the international scene, Uganda aims to vaccinate its entire adult population against COVID-19. Uganda announced on Saturday that it aims to vaccinate its entire adult population against COVID-19 before its economy fully reopens early next year. In televised addresses on the country's COVID-19 epidemic situation, President Yoweri Museveni said his government had expanded the target population for COVID-19 vaccinations to all adults. This decision was taken after Uganda stockpiled more vaccines, the president said, adding that the government would look into vaccinating children. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, the East African countries has recorded at least 127,000 infections and 97,000 recovery and 3,247 deaths from the virus COVID-19. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.